Hello everyone, welcome to the session of Anatomy of Flowering Plants NCERT Exemplar Part 1. Disclaimer. Today's session learning objective, we will explore and understand the fundamental concept of the Chapter 6 Anatomy of Flowering Plants by working through the NCERT Exemplar. So we will solve the NCERT Exemplar questions, and this will help you to understand, right, your fundamental concept related to this particular chapter. So these are the index. Multiple choice question. There will be question 1 to 9. Then very short answer type question 1 to 5. Short answer type question 1 to 6. And long answer type question 1 to 2. So total 22 questions. The first question is here. A transverse section of stem is stained first with saffron. Okay, first it is stained with the saffron solution, and then with the fast green, following with the usual schedule of double staining for the preparation of a permanent slide, right? So what would be the color of the stained xylem and phloem? Right? So we stain, first of all, to see the anatomical structure of the inner plant, or whether it is a stem, root or leaf, right? We stain with saffronin and fast green. These are the two stains. So double staining is here, right? So what would be the color after staining it with for the xylem and phloem? You have to tell that. NCERT section 6.1, this question is coming, and the options are A, red and green, B, green and red, C, orange and yellow, and D, purple and orange. Let us see the answer of this question. So the answer is red and green. So the xylem will get red color and the phloem will get the green color. Different kinds of stains are used to color the different plants tissues to facilitate the histological study, right? So there are two different stains, and the two conducting tissues, xylem and phloem, they are also separate, right? Saffronin and fast green are the few of them that used to color the plant tissue so that they could easily be seen by everyone. When you see it under the microscope, the xylem is colored with red with saffronin solution, and the phloem green with fast green. This is the color. Other colors are not given by the saffronin and fast green, right? Only this xylem and phloem will get colored. And you have to remember one thing, that this saffronin solution give color to the xylem part, and green part, green color, fast green, that gives color to the phloem part. Okay. Next question. This is the match the column type of question, right? So match the following and choose the correct option from the given below. This is the NCERT section 6.1 and 6 question. So let us see the item that is given in column 1. A, meristem, B, parenchyma, C, collenchyma, D, sclerenchyma, and E, epidermal tissue. And let's see the items that are given in the column 2. First, photosynthesis and storage. Second, mechanical support. Third, actively dividing cells. Fourth, stomata. And fifth is sclerites. So there are 4 different options, and you have to match the column 1 and column 2 items, and then you have to select the one that is the same that you get with matched one, right? Let us see the answer. So this was our question, and the correct answer is B option. A, meristem. Meristems are actively dividing cells. Yes, they are the actively dividing cells, so it will get matched with the third one. Parenchyma. parenchyma are doing the two purposes. First is the photosynthesis. If they contain chlorophyll, then they are called as chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma, not collenchyma. Chlorenchyma, right? So they can do the process of photosynthesis. And also they are meant for the storage purposes. Parenchyma, they stores the food material, right? So it matched with the first one. Collenchyma, they provide mechanical support. Lignin deposition is here in the collenchyma. So that provide the mechanical support to the plant. D. Sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma, these are the dead cells. They are having lumen, that is not having any substance in it, right? Sclerenchyma, and the examples are fibers and sclerids, right? So it is matching with the fifth. Epidermal tissue. On the epidermis, we find the stomata, and stomata are also the modified epidermal tissue, right? So it matched with the stomata. Meristem, group of actively dividing cells responsible for the plant growth. That is why the meristem matched with the actively dividing cells. Parenchyma, a permanent tissue distributed in the plant body. This is the parenchyma, that is the part of the permanent tissue, and they are distributed all over, like they are the fillers one, right? They are concerned for the photosynthesis and storage, involved in photosynthesis and food storage, parenchyma. And this parenchyma, they cannot do the process of photosynthesis. Some cells of parenchyma, they do bear the chloroplast, and those cells are get another name, that is chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma. Collenchyma. Cells are thickened corners and providing strength to the green stems. Sclerenchyma. Dead tissue at maturity with thick cell walls. Their walls are very thick and they are dead. Types, examples means sclerids and sclerenchymatous fibers are the examples of it. Epidermal tissue, that forms the outer covering of the plant body with the epidermal cells, and stomata and trichomes are the modification of the epidermal cell. These are the modification of the epidermal cell. So this epidermal tissue get matched with the stomata, right? Next question. Match the following and choose the correct option from below. Now we are having the two column 1 and column 2. A. Cuticle. B. Bulliform cells. C. Stomata. And D. Epidermis. Column 2. First, guard cells. Second, single layer. Third, waxy layer. Fourth, empty colorless cells. Okay. So this question is coming from the NCERT section 6.1 and 6.2. You have to match the items that are given in the column 1 and column 2, and accordingly you have to select the correct option, the one you get with the matching, right? Let us see the answer of this question. So the correct answer is option A, cuticle. Cuticle is what? It is a waxy layer, right? We all know that the cuticle is the waxy layer that are present on the stem as well as on the leaf. But this cuticle is totally absent in the case. They are not present, right? So cuticle get matched with the waxy layer. B. Bulliform cells. Bulliform cells. These are the empty colorless cells. These are the empty colorless cells that are present on the upper epidermis of the leaf. Upper epidermis of the leaf, right? C. Stomata. Stomata, guard cells. Stomata are the small aperture on the leaves, and Through that, gaseous exchange takes place. So these guard cells are there to make that stomatal aperture, right? Bean-shaped guard cells. So stomata is matching with the guard cells. Epidermis. Epidermis is single layer. It is a single layer that is present on the stem, that is present on the leaf, and even in the case of roots, there the in the case of roots, the epidermis is called as epiblema. The epidermis is called as epiblema, right? Okay. Let us see the explanation of this question. Waxy layer present on all over the body, plant body except root. They are not present on the root, this cuticle layer, right? Bulliform cells, where they are present, empty colorless cells that control the leaves surface exposure when turgid. When they are turgid, the leaves get expand and they get maximum sunlight. But when the plant is having less amount of water and they want to conserve the water in the plant, so what they do, this bulliform cells become empty. They are not having any water in it. And due to that, the leaves started curling. They make a curl, right? And the leaves get enfolded. And in this way, they protect their water. They conserve the water that is present in the plant. Cause leaves to curl inward when flaccid. Right? See here it is mentioned. This causes leaves to curl inward when flaccid. Flaccid condition means they are not having any water in it. So that is called as flaccid condition. Okay. Okay. Stomata. So minute apertures that are meant for the gaseous, right? And bounded by the two guard cells. Stomata are bounded by the two guard cells. And guard cells control the stomata opening and closing. Epidermis, uniceriate, that is single layer, only one layer of epidermal cell, and can be multi-layered in ficus and nerium. Next question. So I got a question, sir. What is quiescent center? Okay, quiescent center. The quiescent center is a specific region that we see in the case of root apical meristem. Where it is present? Root apical meristem, quiescent center. Hmm? The growing tip of the plant where the apical meristem is present. So because that at that point, the cell is continuously dividing, right? Where the cells are large, inactive, or dividing very slowly here. But this quiescent center, the cells are generally this meristematic cells, apical meristem, they are meant for the division purpose. But at this particular center, quiescent center in the apical meristem, the division is very slow. The division of the cells is slow or sometimes inactive. These cells act as a reservoir of stem cells. Our body is having the stem cells na, that can transform into any type of cells in the body. That is called as stem cells in human body. Similarly, here in the quiescent center, some cells are present that can be transformed into any type of cell, capable of becoming active and dividing when needed, right? But when they need it, they become very active. But when they are not needed, they are slow dividing some of the cells. That is called as quiescent. Okay. So they are situated between the root cap and the differentiating cells of the root, right? Okay. Okay, let's take me this question. Question number 4. Identify the simple tissue system from the following. NCERT section 6.1. Options are A. Parenchyma, B. Xylem, C. Epidermis, and D. Phloem. Simple tissue system from the following. Let us see the answer. C. Epidermis. Epidermis is the simple one. Epidermis is a single layered structure on the plant body surface. Very simple one. And it has epidermis, cuticles, stomata and trichomes on their surfaces. Parenchyma tissue is present in the plant organ. They are present in the plant organ. They are talking about the tissue system. Remember, tissue system. Epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system and vascular tissue system. Three systems were there, na? Right? So, that is why you should read the question very carefully. Identify the simple tissue system and the option in that or the option that are given, only this is the tissue system. Parenchyma is not a tissue system. Parenchyma is a type of cells that is found in the ground tissue system. Right? So parenchyma tissue is present in all plant organ, and xylem and phloem are the complex tissue in the vascular plant. Clear? Parenchyma is a tissue, but it is found in which tissue system? Ground tissue system. Question is asked about the tissue system, not about tissue. Hope it is clear, right? Let's move to the next question. Okay, before going to the question, I request everyone to give answer, right? Okay. Let's take this question. Cells of this tissue are living and show angular and wall thickening, right? Cells of this tissue are living and they show angular and wall thickening. They also provide mechanical support. The tissue is, this question is coming from the NCERT section 6.1. A. Xylem, B. Sclerenchyma, C. Collenchyma, and D. Epidermis. Okay, let us see the answer. Yes, the correct answer is option C, Collenchyma. So the cell walls of the plant tissue sometimes get deposited with the chemicals like lignin, suberin, and harden to give the mechanical strength to the tissue and the plant part, right? These are some of the chemicals that get deposited at the walls of the tissue. Collenchyma. Now, what happened in the collenchyma? This tissue provides mechanical support mainly to the herbaceous and the young growing stem. And the cells have angular thickening at the corners. How this thickening comes? Whereas xylem is, this thickening comes due to the deposition of the lignin substances. Now, in the xylem, the conductive complex tissue transport water and minerals. This conductive tissue, what is the function? It transport water and minerals. So its main function is not to provide the mechanical support. Xylem do provide mechanical support because of the xylem fibers, right? But that is not the main function of the xylem. The main function of the xylem is to transport water and minerals. Okay? So that could not be the correct answer. Sclerenchyma is the dead at maturity present in hard areas of the plant. And epidermis is usually a single layered structure present on the entire body surface of the plant. So they are not the the one that provide the mechanical support. Next question. Epiblema of roots is equivalent to NCERT section 6.2. Now let's see the options. A. Pericycle, B. Endodermis, C. Epidermis, and D. Stele. Epiblema of roots. This epiblema cells are found in the roots only. And they are equivalent to which cells they are asking? The options A. Pericycle, B. Endodermis, C. Epidermis, and D option as a stele. Let us see the answer of this question. C. Epidermis. epidermis we see on the case of the shoot part, that is the stem and leaf, outer covering, right? But in the case of roots, the outer covering, it is same like epidermis, but its name is epiblema. And the root hairs, the root hairs are the what? Growth of the epidermis, outer growth of the epidermis or epiblema. It is usually a single layered structure present all over the body surface of the plant. Epidermis. They are talking about epidermis. And in the case of root, it is called as epiblema instead of epidermis. Whereas stele is a collective term for the vascular tissue in case of vascular plant, pteridophyte, gymnosperm and angiosperm. There is a stele. The stele region is having all the vascular bundles along with the pith region. So that region is called as stele. Endodermis and pericycle are the part of the root stem encircling the vascular bundle. These are the parts that encircle the vascular bundle. Endodermis is the part of the cortex region, whereas the pericycle is not the part, but it encircle the vascular bundle, provide some sort of protection, as well as they give rise lateral roots. This pericycle is important because they give rise the lateral roots. Next question. A conjoint and open vascular bundle will be observed in the transverse section of. This question is coming from the NCERT section 6.2. A. Monocot root. B. Monocot stem. C. Dicot root. C. Dicot root. And D. Dicot stem. Let us see the answer of this question. The correct answer is option D, dicot stem. Yes, conjoint and open type of vascular bundle is the characteristics of the dicot stem, right? So vascular bundles are open when cambium is present. We say that the vascular bundle is open when there is a presence of cambium. And we say that the vascular bundle is closed when the cambium is absent, right? Conjoint means the xylem and phloem are united on the same radius. They are joined together and they are present on the same radius. Whereas in the case of radial type of arrangement of the vascular bundle, the xylem and phloems are present on the different radii that we see in the case of roots. So here you can see the conjoint, open conjoint vascular bundle. The first one, open because the cambium is present. Conjoint because this phloem and xylem are present on the same radius. See the second one. Closed, it is closed because the cambium is absent between the phloem and xylem. And conjoint vascular bundle, they are joined together and they are present on the same radius. Next question. Interfascicular cambium and cork cambium are formed due to interfascicular cambium, a very different type of cambium, and cork cambium are formed due to NCERT section 6.2, and options are A. Cell division, B. Cell differentiation, C. Cell dedifferentiation, and D. Redifferentiation. Let us see the answer. Option C is correct. Cell dedifferentiation. Now, how it is? Let us see. Dedifferentiation, first of all, differentiation. What is the meaning of differentiation? Because one of the option was the differentiation also. The process which leads to the maturation of cells is called differentiation. The cell get differentiated. Okay. After meristematic activity, what is formed? New cells are formed. Now, these new cells, they attain a size, okay, and they get maturation after transforming into different type of cell as it is required by the plant, right? So the process which lead to the maturation of cell is called differentiation. The cell get differentiated. During differentiation, change happen in the protoplasm and the cell walls. Now, what happened to the de-differentiation? Because our correct answer is de-differentiation. So let us see that. A differentiated cell can regain its capacity after cell division. One, the cell is already get differentiated, but it can regain the capacity for cell division, means the capacity of division. The capacity of division is, which cell is having the capacity of division? Meristematic. Means once it got the transformed to the mature cells and it regain and come back to as a meristematic. So this phenomena is called as de-differentiation. Very, very important. That is why interfascicular cambium and cork cambium, see the cork, the dead cells, now they attain a comeback and they forms the a type of cells that can divide actively and form the secondary growth. That do the process that follow, that is called as secondary growth, and they form the secondary wood. This phenomena is called as de-differentiation. Formation of cambium from differentiated cell is an example. So once there is a meristematic cell, new cells are formed. Now new cells, they get a maturity and they get differentiation, means they changes to, some of the cells may change to parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, right? But they come back and attain a cambium activity. So this is called as de-differentiation. Now there is one option as a redifferentiation also. So let us understand that a de-differentiated cell lose division ability and matures again. So they again go back to the maturity. One differentiated cell get the de-differentiated, and this de-differentiated cell again goes to the maturity, lose the division activity. So this phenomena is now called redifferentiation. Okay. So this phenomena is called as redifferentiation. This part of this differentiation, de-differentiation and redifferentiation, this you will study in a detail in the plant growth and development chapter. Okay. Okay. Phallogen and the phallem respectively denote. Okay, this part, these questions are coming from the part of the cork part that now it has been removed. Okay, but still we can solve this question. NCERT section 6.2, this question is coming. Let us see the options. A, cork and cork cambium. B, cork cambium and cork. C, secondary cortex and cork. D, cork and secondary cortex. Phallogen and phallem respectively denote. So the correct answer is option B, cambium and cork cambium and cork. So phallogen, another name is cork cambium, or you can say the cork cambium, another name is phallogen, and cork, another name is phallem. Cortical cells, in dicot stem, the cortical cells form the cork cambium or phallogen. And cork cambium forms phallem, that is cork, outside, and phallodum inside. Okay, now we will start with the very short answer type of question. And the first question is here. Product of photosynthesis is transported from the leaves to the various parts of the plant and stored in some cells before being utilized. What are the cells tissue that store them? So this question is coming from the NCERT section 6. Let us see the answer. Glucose is the first product of the photosynthesis, right? After the photosynthesis, what they form? They form glucose as the food material. So it is highly reactive molecule. So they transform this glucose to sucrose. How it is transformed? two glucose molecules joined by the alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, and the disaccharide molecule is formed, and that is called as sucrose, right? And this sucrose is transported via phloem, not the glucose. This question has been asked in many times in the examination. The food material, the form of the food material that is transported via phloem. So option could be glucose, sucrose, maltose. Okay. So the correct answer is sucrose, because the glucose is very, very reactive molecule. Yes, it is a reactive molecule. So, do not alpha 1,4 means so first six carbon ring, that is of glucose, and second is also having the six carbon ring structure. So first carbon of the first glucose molecule will have bond with glycosidic bond with fourth carbon of the second glucose, fourth carbon of the second glucose. So that is why it is called as alpha 1,4 glycosidic link, right? Right. So this is a type of bond that forms the sucrose molecule. First, there are six carbon in glucose molecule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this glucose can be open chain or it can form a ring like structure, right? So assume it is a ring like structure. So the first carbon of first glucose will form a bond with the fourth carbon of the second glucose, right? And that type of bond is called as alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, that is called as sucrose. This is ready for form of sugar to be transported. And in class 10th also it is mentioned there that sucrose is transported. Sucrose is transported via phloem as a food material, not the glucose. Answer. The food gets stored in specialized parenchymatous cells present in the roots and the stems as the starch. So this is the current product of photosynthesis is transported from the leaves to the various parts of the plant and stored in some cells before being utilized. What are the cells tissue that store? The correct answer is parenchymatous. Yes, but what is the transportation material? Sucrose. What is formed material? Glucose. And what is the stored material? Starch. Now you can understand clearly why photosynthesis glucose is synthesized, and while transportation the glucose changes to sucrose, a disaccharide. Two glucose unite together to form a disaccharide, sucrose. Sucrose is transported via phloem. Now when they reaches to the parenchymatous for the storage, this sorry, this sucrose is transformed to the starch. So starch is the storing food material that is stored in the some roots. Okay. Okay. Let's move to our next question. So in this way, now you can understand our learning objective. While solving this question, you can enhance the understanding of this particular chapter. So that is why Exemplar is very, very important. Okay, let's take the second question. Protoxylem is the first formed xylem. Protoxylem, wherever you see the transverse section of a stem or the root, there you see that it is mentioned there that protoxylem or metaxylem, right? So protoxylem is the first form xylem. If the protoxylem lies next to the phloem, what kind of arrangement of the xylem would you call it? This question is coming from the NCERT section 6.2. Let us see the answer. Very important question. Thinking process. Xylem is a complex permanent tissue made up of four different type of cells: tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma, right? Which develops from the primary meristematic. All the four type of cells they develop from the primary meristematic tissue. They combine together and form a very complex structure that is called as permanent tissue. Why it is called as complex tissue? Why it is called as complex tissue? Because 4 different type of cells unite together to form one tissue. And earlier what you have studied, simple tissue, only one type of cells unite together to form a simple tissue, right? Yes, four different cells unite together to form one tissue, and that is why it is called as complex permanent tissue. Okay, so it functions for the transport of water and minerals in the plant. This is regarding the xylem. Now let's go to the answer. Protoxylem lies next to the phloem. The condition of the xylem arrangement is called as exarch. Exarch. Remember, the condition exarch and endarch is related to the protoxylem. It is not related to the metaxylem. Because why it is so? Because protoxylem is a type of xylem that is formed initially. First formed xylem. First formed xylem, and that is called as protoxylem. Now remember one point here, very important. The condition of the xylem arrangement is called exarch when you call it this xylem as an exarch when the protoxylem lies next to the phloem. The protoxylem next to the phloem, right? Okay. It is found in roots. Now this condition, exarch type of condition, is found in the roots. So that was the answer. Now, next question. What is the function of phloem parenchyma? This question is coming from the NCERT section 6.2. Parenchyma function. Thinking process. Phloem carries food to all plant parts and has sieve tubes, parenchyma, fibers, and companion cells. Let us go to the answer. Phloem parenchyma. Parenchyma stores food material, resins, latex, and mucilage. Right? They are concerned for the food storage. Helps in food support also. Transport, food transport also, because it is this phloem parenchyma is cells very next to the sieve tube cells, right? It is associated with it as it is a part of the tissue. Next question. What is present on the surface of the leaves which helps the plant prevent loss of water but is absent in the roots? This question is coming from the NCERT section 6.2. Thinking process. Plant lose water from body through the transpiration. There is a transpiration, right? When sunlight is falling directly on the plants, the water comes out from the leaf surface because they are having the stomata, right? So they lose the water. Plant have mechanism to prevent water loss. They want to have that water because the water is very, very essential. They required for the photosynthesis as a raw material. So they do not want this water to get lost. Now, the cuticle is a waxy coating that are present on the plant surface. Yes, they are the waxy coating that are present on the plant surface just above the epidermis. But this cuticle is absent in roots and its main function is to prevent water loss through the surface, right? Next question. What is epidermal cells modification in the plant which prevent water loss? Next question. This question is coming from the NCERT section 6.2. Bulliform cells check the water loss. There are the cells that checks the water loss. These cells are present in the monocot. Yes. Bulliform or the motor cells are modified epidermal cells present in monocot. They are present on the surface of the epidermis. And under stressed condition, they help in shutting down stomata to reduce water loss. They shut down the stomata to reduce the water loss. Right? When water is not available properly. So at that time, they become flaccid. These bulliform cells become flaccid. They give out the water from the cells and they allow the leaves to curl. And while making curl, what happened? They are not getting exposed properly to the sunlight. And in this way, they minimize the rate of transpiration. Now, short answer type question. First question. While eating peach or pear, it is usually seen that some stone-like structures get entangled in the teeth. What are these stones-like structures called? Yes, some gritty substance or some crystals-like substance we see while eating the peach and apricot. So, what are those substances or structures called? Let us see the answer of this question. Thinking process. The peach or pear is a pome fruit. Yes. And their fleshy thalamus is the edible part of the fruit. Thalamus part is the edible one. Means false fruit. Yes. The pulpy part of the fruit contains stone cells. The pulp that we eat, right? They contain the stone cells made up of the sclerenchymatous cells. What is the function of this? They provide mechanical support to the soft tissue. So here you can see. This is the pear pulp. This is the pear and this is the pulp region, right? And this figure shows the stone cells that are gritty. Next question. What is the commercial source of cork and how is it formed in the plant? The commercial cork is obtained from the Curicus suber. Okay, oak plant, Curicus suber. This is the name of the species of the trees from which we get the commercial cork. You must have seen the cork. Some of the alcohol bottles are covered with the cork, champagne bottle. Even the homeopathic medicine, they are having the cover with the cork, right? So cork is very, very important and we get this commercial cork from the Curicus suber. Cork is formed from the cork cambium or the phloem, right? So you must have heard about that secondary growth, this, but you have not studied about this. Secondary growth occur inside the vascular bundle, but secondary growth also occur in the cork region. Cork cambium or phloem divide and redivide and give out outer side as a cork. So this cork cambium divide periclinally, cutting cells inward and outerward. The outerward cells are suberized and they are dead, whereas the inner one, the cell pack in the radial rows forming the cork or phloem. And cork is impervious due to the suberin and the impervious that do not allow the water. So they are because of the presence of suberin substances. Okay. Next question. Below is a list of plant fibers. From which part of the plant they are obtained? Which part of the plant we obtain these? A. Coir, B. Hemp, C. Cotton, and D. Jute. These are the substances that we use. We get the product from the plant and we use in our daily life, right? Let us see that. Coir. It is a natural fiber obtained from the husk of the coconut. You must have seen the dry coconut, brown one. right? So you must have seen that their hairs like structures that are present on all over the coconut, and that is called husk of the coconut, right? So it is a fibrous mesoderm layer of the coconut fruit. You must have seen the green coconut also, a very uh, smooth surface earlier when the coconut was green. And when you remove this green, after the coconut get dry, when you remove this covering, you will get this mesoderm layer that is this fibrous in nature. Next, hemp. The fiber is obtained from the stems of cannabis sativa. Cannabis sativa. And it is the bast fiber. Bast means phloem. Okay. The fiber that we obtain from the phloem part. So it is a bast fiber obtained from the secondary phloem. Yes. So you must remember secondary phloem or bast fiber, hemp. Cotton. The fiber is epidermal growth of the cotton Gossypium hirsutum seed. Seed's outer surface, outer epidermal surface in a form of fiber. It is elongated structure made up of cellulose. And jute, very important. It is a natural bast fiber obtained from the Crocus capsularis and made up of cellulose and lignin substance. Next question. What are the characteristic differences found in the vascular tissue of gymnosperm and very important question. You have studied about the gymnosperm and angiosperm. Now they are asking what are the difference between the vascular tissue of these two type of plants. Thinking process. Vascular tissue is a complex tissue made up of more than one type of cells. Yes, they are called as complex tissue. That is why. In gymnosperm, it is primitive form and it is advanced in angiosperm. So first time, the vascular bundle got developed in the pteridophytes only. They get developed in the pteridophytes, but they got some sort of advancement in the gymnosperm, and they become more advanced in the case of angiosperm. So we can say that in gymnosperm, though they got advanced from the pteridophytes, but it is in a primitive form. But in the case of angiosperm, it is got an advancement in a full-fledged. Answer part. Differences between gymnosperm and angiosperms regarding this xylem tissue. So gymnosperm lack vessels. Yes, correct. Gymnosperm lack vessels in their xylem part. What about the angiosperm? Vessels are xylem part of the angiosperm. Phloem lack companion cells. Companion cells are absent in the case of phloem, whereas in the angiosperm, phloem possesses the companion cell. These are the two differences regarding the vascular tissue in the case of gymnosperm and angiosperm. Next question. Epidermal cells are often modified to perform specialized function in plants. Right? Name some of them and function they perform. This question is coming from the NCERT section 6.1. So epidermal tissue system forms the outermost covering of the whole plant body and comprises of one cell thick layer of the epidermal. This tissue system is just made up of one cell thick layer, right? But we see a lot of modifications in the case of epidermis in different plants. Modification of epidermal cells. The epidermal tissue has a following modification. Root hairs. In the case of roots, unicellular hairs are the extension of the epidermal cells of the roots. in the root hair zone. And what is function of the root hair? It increases the surface area and that helps in the absorption of water and minerals, right? So if you see the roots, you can see a lot of hairs coming out from this epiblema cells or the epidermis of the root. Yes. Why it is so? Because they have to absorb more and more water and minerals, right? Epidermal appendages. Here you can see this modification you see on the stem part. These are called as trichomes and are epidermal cell modification. They may be unicellular or multicellular, right? And they can be glandular also. Some of the trichomes transform into the glands and they secrete some of these substances. For example, like some of the substances they secrete just to allow, do not allow the grazers to graze them because they release some of the alkaloid substances that is not taken easily by the browsers, like herbivores plant, herbivores animals. Now, what is the function of these trichomes? Some performs for the stinging produces and some glandular secretion, right? Stellate hair of the elysum and glandular hair in pelargonium. These are the two names. These type of hairs like a structure that we see in the case of stem part. Short glandular hair of the lavandula and floccose hair in malva. Glandular hair of solanum species, and cultivating hair of verbascum. These are some of the type of hairs and also in which species they are found. Next, the lawn grass Cynodon dictylon. Generally, the lawn we have this grass made up of this grass Cynodon dictylon need to be moved frequently to prevent its overgrowth. You have to trim it regularly. Which tissue is responsible for its rapid growth? NCERT section 6.1. This question is coming. Let us see the answer. Thinking process. Lawn grass is the runner stem modification of the family Poaceae, and it grows beautifully on the soil surface, covering entire soil surface grown for the landscaping in the garden, right? So generally our this lawn we are having this Cynodon dictylon as a grass, right? Now let us see the answer part. The meristematic tissue is responsible for the rapid growth of the moved lawn grass. They divide repeatedly, right? So when apex of the grass is cut frequently, it leads to growth from the lateral branches, making it more bushy, right? So it is not apical meristem, it is lateral meristem because you cut. When you cut the grass, the apical meristem is gone. It got a cut. But what is left? Lateral meristem. So quickly from the lateral meristem, new branches emerges and they make the this lawn again green and bushy. This occur in the case of tea also. You must have seen in the case of uh, the tea garden. The tea pickers, what they do, they just take out the apical 2-3 leaves, right? 2-3 leaves they take out always. And what happened? From the lateral branches, new branch emerges out because of the lateral meristem there, right? Okay, let's take this another question. This is a long answer type of question. And in pinus and evergreen tree, comment. Evergreen plants have leaves persistent in all season. these leaves are persistent all season, means they are present in all seasons. And deciduous plants lose foliage during the winter or dry season. Whereas pinus is a gymnosperm and it is an evergreen because you see the leaves every time. In all the season, they are having the leaves. They do shed their leaves, but all the leaves are not shed instantaneously one time. Flowering plants shed leaves and become dormant in extreme cold, right? But the pinus has a thick bark and needle-like leaves with the sunken stomata. So they shed the leaves, but all the leaves are not shed one time. Some of the leaves are shed. The older one they get shed, but the new one will be remain there, and the new leaves emerges out. So in this way, they remain green throughout the season. Cold areas are physiologically and physically dry. So pinus is well adapted to these conditions. And it manufactures food and dominates the other plants also. So this proves pinus is an evergreen tree, right? It never shed its leaves under any condition. Okay. So this is all about today's session. Why it is dry, physiologically and physically dry, because the water is not available. It is cold areas. The water is in solid condition, no fall. Yes. So that water is not available for the plant. So still it is cold, but it is dry. Yes. Okay, so this is all about today's session. We'll meet tomorrow. Okay. And complete the next part of the NCERT exam. So thank you very much for attending today's session. We'll stop it now, today's session.